So in the overview to the series, we had introduced the various aspects of this template from the system. So if you go into the code, you'll find in the file class.ueset.js, you've got this set of code here, and let's just increase the size there. So you can see that in the creation of this class ueset, you have the constructor, of course, and in this constructor we can change the title of the system. So here, design templates, that's where you can change that, and the subtitle as well, so you can change those two names there. And then there's also a state here. So if you look in the system here, these values can be changed or initialized, so we can change the list of variables that we are going to apply to the system. So we can change the list of variables here. So you can see in this state JSON object, there are these attributes: parameter 1, parameter 2, val 1, 2, 3. So you can see all those here. And then the values of those are also given there. So you can see the values listed as well. Then you can also change the description. So you can set a description here, which is not being used at the moment. And then you'll find there's an initialization step as well. So here we are loading in some data which we'll meet in the future section. So in particular here, where we are dealing with more complex data, you initialize that here. So we won't be talking about that part in this video. So let's skip straight over to the interface elements. And before we look at this particular section, let's just review for the whole system that we are creating out of a site template. You can see here that we are specifying the 5 sections under main tabs. So here are the main tabs, and you can see there are 5 of them. So layout, datasets, infographics, and so on. So you can see that here: layout, data, info. So always the attribute name is usually short, and it doesn't have some of the formatting that you'll see in the actual title. So for a more detailed title, you add an attribute here. You can see a label attribute inside this layout, which is in main tabs. So in your label, you can specify an icon. So you can see I'm using the plus icon here. You can see it here. And then the title, so layout. So all of that gets grouped together into this button. And so generally speaking, if you want to include an icon, this is the way to do it. So you use this angle brackets I, and then you include class equals, and then in the brackets you specify the name of that icon. And we find these names using the icons section. So if you go under icons, number one, you can just look at what icons are generally available and maybe get some inspiration for the type of thing you're looking for. And then you can specify if you want to search for a type of icon. For example, if we just try image here, then you can see a couple of different icons that have image in the name. So if you go ahead and just copy out that tag, and then you use that in the class. So let's say we replace this one here, then that's going to use that icon instead. So that's how you deal with icons, right? Very easy. Then going further, so we've got the 4 sections, and then you can also specify which one should be active when you first load up the page. So currently it's set on that one, but you can change that. Typically we use that just for development purposes. Just speeds things up instead of when you want to rerun the code, like we just modified it. Well, it's not going to update because this is the live version of this anyway. So you've got your main tabs here, and we've specified the state. We talked about that, and then this specifies what should happen when the user updates the state. So here, once you've modified these values and you click update, then there's a certain action that has to be taken on the system. So that is specified just there. And then down here, these 5 sections are important. So you can just leave all this as it is. You would want to customize the tabs here and the names of the tabs and the icons and so on. And then what you want to do is specify the function which is going to take action when we want to load into a tab. So just to explain that, when we click on a particular tab, you can see that we've got a different set of elements that load up in here. So we need to specify what code is going to create those elements, and you do that down here. So you create a function. So here, for example, show layout is a function that's been created in this class, right? Show layout, that's all the code for creating this this page right here. So this section, which is sitting under the status bar and above the footer. So between the status bar and the footer, we need to create some user interface elements, and we are doing all that in this function that we call show layout. And there's nothing special about the name. There's no constraint that if this section is layout, then this has to be show layout. You can name it whatever you like, but of course it makes sense to keep that kind of convention. So here is where we are calling up the function. So we are creating the instruction here. Go ahead and run the function show layout and use as the viewport the layout. So this layout has to be identical to the name that we provide here. So we've created these main tabs, and in these main tabs we've provided an attribute name. So that attribute name has to be used when we specify what viewport we want this rendered into, because you see these functions are written in such a way that you could draw this section into any port on any page. So we have to specify where we want those interface elements to be drawn. So we specify a viewport attribute, and then we specify here tabset.tab, and then in that we specify layout as the specific tab where we are going to run the function show layout. So that's just introducing us to the overall framework of this